Speaking of cash offers, Tego, I was saying we talked about this on the show, but I want to bring it up again because it keeps coming up. People keep saying, "Oh, there's so many cash buyers, and they're just beating us out." And oh my gosh, the cash buyers.
Not that narrative. Yeah, I know.
And we've
so we were hearing that, and of course, you know what I did, Tracy.
I know you went and did the stats, but we as a team have closed over 250 houses this year already, right? And we're going, well, let's look at it, and really. Yeah, there are some cash buyers out there, but that is not different, right? Do you have a stat for it?
Of course I do. And so what I looked at was, I looked at the first half of this year versus, well, actually it was the first, I say the first half, it was actually the first 5 months of 2017, 2018, 2019, and 2020, and then of course 2021, because I just went through
5 years
through May. Yeah, so it was 5 years back. And I was trying to say, okay, of all the homes that sold in each one of those years during that specific period, how many of them closed were cash? How many were conventional loans? How many were FHA loans? How many were real estate contracts, which is, seller financing?
Owner finance.
And then how many of them were VA loans? And that's, those are the kind of the big, the 5 big buckets. And the thing that was shocking was that in 2021, that the number of cash buyers was actually less than 2017, 18, and 19. Now, last year, 2021, it was actually even lower, but this year it's bumped up a little bit. But it's interesting because we hear these narratives out there where, oh, all these cash buyers are just coming in and they're from California and they're buying all our homes and they're displacing this. It's like, no. Yes, there's some of that. And we've always seen that, right, Tracy? It didn't just happen since last year that people from other states are coming here and buying homes.
Right. And when we had our team meeting, we asked our team, there was about 20 some on the meeting, right? Where are people coming from? Are you seeing them coming from California? Is that the overwhelming? And it was like, everybody's like, that's just what people are saying. There's no facts behind that.
Yeah.
It's like, no, people are move up. They're from here. They're coming back here. They're from all over. They're moving from one house to another within the city. They're upsizing. They're downsizing.
And there's a lot of, household formation is what we call it, where we're, people that have maybe never been homeowners, or, maybe two people coming together to start a home and be first-time purchaser. We are seeing a lot of first-time purchases, but most of those first-time purchases are people from here.
Right.
I mean, they're from here. They're not from elsewhere. So that was, anyway, that's a little myth busting there, because
for the stats, when
I
people are throwing things around, I have my own Statomatic, so
I
get
heard
real
info.
I
heard a conversation from a real estate training class where people were just throwing data around and stats around. They had nothing to back it up. They were just saying stuff like, yeah, they're all coming from, where did you get that from? It's like, well, that's what I think. It's like, well, anyway,
let's talk about home equity.
Yeah, home equity. That really hit the radar this week, and all the economists that I follow regarding real estate.
So let me just tell you. So we were meeting with a client last weekend, you and I, and talking about selling a house and anything, and talking about where you can make money on your money, right? We were saying, well, you could put it in and buy a CD or a treasury or this or that and get, right now they were advertising on a credit union last week when we were meeting that if you wanted to put your money in for so many years, they were giving you extra, and it was going to be 0.4% interest, right? Could you imagine if home equity was 0.4% interest? So when you think about wealth in building in real estate, this is where people build their wealth as a family for the most part.
Well, it's no doubt the number one wealth builder in the country, especially for the the middle to lower, class, people, because for the most part, people that are living paycheck to paycheck they don't have a 401k. They don't have another savings plan. But if you're paying on your mortgage every month, you're doing two things. One, you're paying down the principal every month. That's forced savings. You're also, the equity in the home is growing over the long term. Yes, we have ups and downs, and there's cycles, and there's going to be cycles, and there's always going to be cycles. I don't think we'll ever see a cycle like we saw from 2000, let's say 7 to 2010. I don't think we'll ever see a downturn like that again. There's too many safeguards in place now.
Well, you think about when COVID hit, or the stock market went down, but the value of my house didn't, right?
Well, values of homes have gone crazy in the last year, and so on the surface, you hear that and you go, "Uh-oh, that's a bubble," right? Well, okay, is it or is it not? Let's not go down that road. But for the most part, just about any really reputable economists do not see a housing bubble, at least a price bubble. They do see an affordability bubble. That's a different conversation.
Yeah.
Right. So anyway, but a couple stats here. Average American, this is nationwide, their home equity went up by $33,000 in the last 12 months. In New Mexico, it's $26,000. So you think about that. Every homeowner, if you just average it out in New Mexico that owned a home, and there's about 1 million homeowners in New Mexico, just if you didn't know that.
I didn't know that.
And just shy of 2 million people, but there's about 1 million homes in New Mexico. And that's another stat I want to get to, is how many of these people are financed and how many are free and clear. 'Cause that's an interesting number.
It is an interesting number. How many people own their home outright?
Outright, yeah. Anyway, so and that's figured into this average, right? So $26,000 gain in equity, but the number of people that have like at least, I think the number was the number of people nationwide that have at least 90, or excuse me, I'm not going to say this right. There's very few people that have less than 10% equity. Very few. It's less than 10%. It's a very small number.
I could see if somebody bought in the last year FHA with 3.5% down.
Sure. Yeah.
That's where that number is.
Right.
If they bought 3 years ago FHA with 3.5% down, they have more than 10% equity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so one of the things that came up when I posted this on my Facebook is, well, how many people own their homes free and clear? And I thought, well, that's a really good question.
Free and clear is the term we throw around.
Right. Means
they own it outright. They have no mortgage on it.
No mortgage. Free and clear.
They own it.
Yep. They own it. They don't owe anything to the bank on it, or the bank doesn't have a lien on it. And by the way,
so what is the number? Tell us the number.
I want to say something, because I've heard this thrown around. It's like, well, you have a mortgage, the bank owns your house. It's like, no, the bank doesn't own your house. You still own your house. It's just that you have a loan from a bank or a lender that's secured by your home. They don't own your house. You still own your house. Anyway, it's one of those little things I see people say that just don't make sense to me, and it bugs me. Anyway.
Okay, so we're all waiting on the number.
I'm really in a mood today, aren't I?
Yeah. How many people are owning their house outright?
Nationwide,
free and clear.
42% of people own their home free and clear.
So when I go down the city block and I see all these houses,
4
out of 10 houses on that street, they just own it. They don't even owe a bank.
Yep.
That's incredible, isn't it?
Yep.
And probably they've lived in that property a long time, or a family member lived in that property that passed
especially
it
here
along.
in New Mexico, right? We see a lot of that here.
Right.
Yeah, for sure.
Which is why people build wealth through home ownership.
Right. And so, yeah, it's a pretty. Here's the stat that I was talking about. Only 7% of people have less than 10% equity in their home.
Nationwide.
Very few numbers.
Very few numbers.
Very few.
Very few. Very small.
Wow.
I don't know. Too much coffee or not enough?
I think so. It's one or the other for sure.
Yeah.
That goes to. Well, anyway, sorry. Go ahead. You had something else you wanted to share.
Yeah. I'm good. I was looking at the stats of the different types of loans that you had pulled up for us to see in front of us, where you were saying the 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, the types of loans.
Oh, yeah. I'm going to go back
the
to
different types, VA, FHA, owner financing. The biggest by far was conventional, and that's
Right.
our market. And so when we put a house, when we sell a house here in our multiple listing service, we then go in when we close it and show it. We put in the details on it, and we put in how it was sold, type of financing or cash, right?
Yeah.
And so you went back and figured out how to run those numbers. And by far, conventional loans was the biggest. And conventional is typically somebody with higher credit that might put more money down, right? And then there was FHA and VA, which were much smaller. FHA tends to be maybe a first-time buyer, 3.5% down, right? VA, obviously, we really appreciate our veterans who are eligible for VA. That's a zero-down loan. And it's the best loan you can get if you're eligible, if you've done some military service and honorably discharged and qualify for it. By far, it's the best loan out there.